The show can't start until we crack open a bottle of Revelton. Whether it's their crisp, clean vodka, the bold spice of their rye whiskey, the rich smoothness of bourbon, or the original honey whiskey that started it all, every pour is a taste of craft and passion straight from the heart of Iowa. So pour yourself a drink, settle in, and get ready to relax, laugh, and enjoy the show.
Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Barber's Best Bets. We are going to recap the previous weekend in college football and the NFL, and we can talk about why we will never, ever be betting on the Clemson Tigers, at least not this season, ever again. I thought we were in a great spot with Clemson football, but we were not, and they let us down in a big way, outright losing as a 16.5-point favorite. That is an awful beat there. So I will take all the credit for that one. But overall, we had a pretty good week in the college football game. We went 4-2. We're 6-3 in the college football game on the year, if you listen to my picks and Hawk's Eye view. So 6-3, we're right where you need to be to kind of be above the juice, as they call it in Vegas. So we're moving along at a good pace. So I think this week is a week to kind of beef up the college football slate and downplay the NFL slate, as we didn't do so well and didn't do so hot in the NFL slate and really haven't for 2 weeks now. It's still trying to get a good read on the NFL. But 4-2 overall this week in college football. As I mentioned, Clemson letting us down. And then also Baylor losing on a last-second field goal. So that's kind of the bad side of the beats there. But we had a really nice win, a really bad beat if you were on Auburn, but a late safety to save Oklahoma -6.5 for us to take us to 4-2 on the weekend. TCU easily covered 6.5. The over in the Michigan State USC game was well over. And Kansas covered easily on the -13.5. You'll see some of these teams pop up again this week. I think we've found a couple of teams, or isolated a couple of teams here, that I really like in the college football world now and going forward. And let's just dive right into it with my first bet of the college football weekend. And that is TCU money line. I'm taking them to win outright on Friday night against the Arizona State Sun Devils. Yes, the same Arizona State team who did us in when we had Baylor money line. They had a nice win at Baylor, but TCU had a nice home victory over SMU. They are now ranked. They are one of the best offensive football teams in all of college football, certainly in the Big 12. I think that Arizona State is maybe the more well-balanced squad here. I think their defense is slightly stronger than TCU's is, so that gives me some pause. But We could also see the Arizona State team that got taken advantage of by Mississippi State. So I like going with the better quarterback in the situation. And right now, the better quarterback between these two teams is Josh Hoover. So give me Josh Hoover and the TCU Horned Frogs to win outright on Friday night. All right, and then we're going to just flip the page right to Saturday and talk about another team that we had last week. USC taking on Illinois. Illinois coming off that crushing defeat against Indiana where they just got obliterated 63-10 final. I don't expect anything crazy like that in this one, but they're facing a USC team who is just as dangerous offensively as that Indiana team is. Now, maybe USC hasn't had the test because their first true test, if you will, was against Michigan State last week, and it really wasn't much of a test for the Trojans. They were able to take care of business easily at home in that one. But they're one of the best offensive teams in all of college football. When you look at the ratings, I'm looking at the offensive simple rating system. They are the 5th best offense according to College Football Reference simple rating system. We talked about TCU. They're the 6th best offense. I'm riding with the teams that have good offenses because so many times in college football, great elite offenses beat elite defenses. And so you'll see that as kind of a theme this week and a theme kind of throughout as we make picks every week. But USC, they are a really good offensive team. Jaden Mayava is sort of a dark horse Heisman candidate. I wouldn't make any sort of a prediction or a bet there with my money on him, but I like him in this spot. The only thing that worries me is it's an 11 a.m. kickoff in Illinois, so there may be some body clock issues for the Trojans, but that's not enough to scare me here. I'll take the over 59.5 here with USC and Illinois. Another team that we picked last week that we're going to ride with again this week, and Kansas. Jalen Daniels and Lance Leipold seem like they have things rolling there in Jayhawk country. They welcome in Cincinnati for an 11 a.m. kickoff. And I just, in this situation, kind of like what we talked about with TCU, I'm betting on better quarterbacks and the better coaches. I believe that Lance Leipold is a better coach than Satterfield, I believe, is who is at Cincinnati. I definitely think Jalen Daniels is a better quarterback than Brendan Sorsby. Although, don't get me wrong, I like Brendan Sorsby's game, but I think that we can ride with Jalen Daniels and the Jayhawks here, minus 5.5 points. Looking for more points this weekend. Overs and unders going to be a theme in my college football picks. Louisville, Pittsburgh, over 57.5. Louisville, one of the best offensive teams in the country. You're not going to hear about them being one of the best offensive teams in the country because they play in the ACC. But Miller Moss is there and has been lighting up the scoreboard. West Virginia lit up the scoreboard against this Pittsburgh defense. And West Virginia, while I think it was good to back them in that Pitt game, they don't really have any sort of quarterback play, and they were able to drop 31 on this Pitt team. Pitt's able to put up points as well, and Louisville gives up points. So does Pitt. I think this is a ripe spot for an over here, 57.5, and I think Miller Moss is going to do a lot of the damage in this one. Keep moving along here. Big game between Ohio State and Washington. Here, Ohio State's an 8.5-point favorite, but I like the Huskies here. I like DeMond Williams and the Huskies. It's at Washington. It's at home. Give me the Huskies to cover plus 8.5 against the Ohio State Buckeyes. I know that may come as a surprise to you, but again, better quarterback in this game is DeMond Williams. I like Julian Sand. I like what he's done so far. He's navigated the schedule for the Buckeyes, but I don't think this is a case where Ohio State walks in and just rolls this Washington team. Washington is a dark horse team, I think. If they could win this game outright, they can find themselves in the Big Ten title scenario. Even if they don't win this game, go ahead and take a look at Washington's schedule for the year and let me know your thoughts on where they could end up in the Big Ten title race, the playoff picture. I got a couple of futures on them for the Big Ten title game and the college football playoffs. I think if you haven't made those futures on Washington for the playoffs especially, I would go ahead and make that now because I think they're worth sprinkling a little something on it. And DeMond Williams is playing at a very, very high level. Washington, one of the better offenses in the country too. Talked about the USC offense. Washington grades out as a better offense than the USC offense, and definitely a better offense than the Ohio State offense, which is very surprising to say at this point in the season. But Washington is elite on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the problem is their defense. Can they keep Jeremiah Smith and company out of the end zone? I'm not so sure. That would give me some pause, but I think there's incredible opportunity for a late game cover here. And also maybe Washington just wins outright. A team that we picked against last week, Auburn. They're a 6.5-point underdog at Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is overall a better team than the Oklahoma Sooners. I like Marcel Reed. I love what Texas A&M did on the road at Notre Dame, gutting out a win there. I think that Notre Dame team is good, whether you want to believe it or not. But Texas A&M only a 6.5-point favorite here at home against the Auburn Tigers. That's not making sense to me. It's a suspicious line. Maybe it's suspicious for a reason, and we'll find out that reason come Saturday. But for now, give me Texas A&M -1.5, and that is another team that I like to have some college football playoff aspirations as well. I like Marcel Reed as a dark horse Heisman candidate. Also, we mentioned Oklahoma, who defeated Auburn last week, and John Mateer was rolling and looking good for that Heisman campaign, but he has a broken hand, and unfortunately it's his throwing hand. He's going to miss some time. Should be back this season, but that's going to derail his Heisman campaign. So now I think it's a wide open race, and I think there's a couple of contenders, some of which we've talked about. Jaden Mayava and Marcel Reed, I think, could add their names to the ring. I wouldn't bet on it, but they could add their names to the ring this week. My next pick, I'm going to take NC State -10.5. It seems like a lot of points, but they're playing a Virginia Tech team at home that just fired their coach and got absolutely blasted by Old Dominion at home. I think this Virginia Tech team is on the verge of just straight up quitting on the season. And I liked NC State coming into the year. I liked them even better in the spot after Virginia Tech's coach was fired. You talk about in the NFL sometimes how when a coach is fired, a team rallies. I don't think that's necessarily what's going to happen in this case. That happens with professionals. It doesn't happen on the collegiate level. And the other piece of this is that you might see guys transferring out from Virginia Tech. So a 1-3 team whose only win is a home win over Wofford, who's one of the worst teams in the FCS. I don't think that the want to is going to be there for the Hokies on Saturday, and I love CJ Bailey. I have a small future on CJ Bailey to win the Heisman. I'm going to ride with the Wolfpack to cover the 10.5 this weekend. All right, let's move on to our next pick there, and it's the big game of the weekend. Number 6 Oregon taking on number 3 Penn State in Happy Valley, 6:30 NBC. Huge game. We've been looking for points so far in the slate. We're not looking for points in this game. I think these teams are going to show up on defense, especially Penn State is going to show up on defense. I would bet on that almost certainly. I like the under 52.5 here. In these big games, you're going to see a lot of people betting up this line, thinking that Oregon and Penn State are going to try and do their best to just light up the scoreboard. Sure, that could happen. I'm not going to bank on it. I think that the Penn State defense they're vicious. I think they have something in store for Dante Moore, and I think this is Dante Moore's first real test of his young career at Oregon. I don't know if he passes that test, but we don't need him to. And also, the Penn State offense, for as much billing as it's gotten preseason, hasn't really lived up to expectations. And I don't really expect that to turn around immediately in this one against a solid Oregon defense. So give me the under here in a primetime game, looking like a 24-20 type game. Next bet of the weekend, we're going to go a little bit off the radar. We're going to go with a team that I really like. Old Dominion is taking on Liberty, the Flames. The Old Dominion Monarch against the Liberty Flames. Old Dominion, for people who don't remember, they played Indiana in week 1. I gave them a little bit of a battle for about 3 quarters. I think they're one of the best teams at their level. And they're a 16.5 point favorite against Liberty, who has really struggled to start this season. Give me Old Dominion and the Monarchs to cover every bit of that. This Old Dominion team also went into Virginia Tech and decimated them. So they have experience against power conference teams, and they've hung in those games or just outright won those games. That's a team that's flying really under the radar right now that I really like. So give me the Old Dominion Monarchs minus 16.5. All right. Our last pick of the college football slate here, Notre Dame, Arkansas, over 64.5. That's a huge number. But Notre Dame is the number 1 offense, according to the Offense Simple rating system on College Football Reference. I also see that Arkansas checks in as the 13th ranked offense. Notre Dame, believe it or not strong defensively. Their defensive numbers are negative, meaning that they give up points. They give up more points than what's expected when the game starts. So, yeah, some of that's on the schedule that Notre Dame has had. So I could see maybe their defense getting a little bit right here. But the Arkansas defense, it just relinquished a bunch of points to a Memphis team, who I think is, again, a good offensive team in Memphis, not elite like Notre Dame is and has been this year. Give me Notre Dame and Arkansas to light up the scoreboard. Again, it's a lot of points, but CJ Carr, Taylon Green, those guys are high-quality quarterbacks at the Power Conference level, and they are going to be slinging it, running all over the field. Games in Arkansas, so the crowd's going to be pumped up for a game against a ranked Notre Dame team. Tough spot for Notre Dame, too. I think they may get exposed a little bit like they did against Texas A&M, where they gave up a lot of points to an SEC school there. Arkansas is going to light up the scoreboard. So is Notre Dame. 64.5. That's going to be one of the more entertaining games of the college football slate. So there you have it. Let's just run through that again. I'm going bigger on college football this week. We got 10 picks for you. TCU money line, USC Illinois over 59.5, Kansas minus 5.5, Louisville Pittsburgh over 57.5, Washington plus 8.5, Texas A&M minus 6.5, NC State minus 10.5, Oregon Penn State under 52.5 total, Old Dominion minus 16.5, Notre Dame Arkansas over 64.5. That will conclude it for the college football Friday and Saturday games. When we come back from this break, we'll flip the page to the NFL.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa-born, Iowa-aged, Iowa-bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
Gentlemen, let's be honest. Finding the perfect gift for your wife or girlfriend isn't always easy. You want something thoughtful, stylish, and unique. And that's exactly what you'll find at Styled by JJ Boutique. Julia Bradshaw and her team strive to be your go-to boutique for casual, boho, and chic clothing and accessories, helping women elevate their style one piece at a time. Located right here in Johnston, Iowa, Styled by JJ brings trendy, high-quality fashion that boosts confidence without breaking the bank. So, if you're looking for a gift that says, I get you, instead of I tried, head to Styled by JJ Boutique. Because nothing makes her smile like feeling beautiful. Styled by JJ Boutique, where style meets confidence. Visit our Johnston location or shop online at styledbyjjboutique.com.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And thank you to our sponsors. We appreciate you. Week 3 NFL, just as bad as week 2 NFL. 1-1 in week 2, 1-2-1. If you're wondering about the 1 on the end there, I'm going to go ahead and void out the CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown bet because it got hurt in the first quarter. If you work with a reputable sports book, hopefully they refunded all of your CeeDee Lamb bets and then some. But we got the Mike Evans touchdown. But both Mike Evans and CeeDee Lamb went down with multiple week injuries. So I seem to be the guy who is jinxing these players when I pick them to score a touchdown. I don't know if I'm the bad luck or what's going on, but we lost Mike Evans for 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. We probably lost CeeDee Lamb for about the same length of time with a high ankle sprain. Mike Evans scored a touchdown before he left the game. CeeDee Lamb did not because it was, again, early in the first quarter. So brutal week in the NFL for us because we get hooked by the Niners who win by 1 instead of 2. We needed them to win by 2 points against the lowly Arizona Cardinals, and some chicanery happened in that one. It's my fault for betting on Mac Jones. I blame myself. I can only blame myself for that. We can't be betting on Mac Jones, but we can bet against the Arizona Cardinals, and we have an opportunity to redeem ourselves on that -1.5 line against the Arizona Cardinals. This time, we're going to ride with Sam Darnold against Kyler Murray and the boys on the road, -1.5. I think the Seahawks are going to roll in this game. Secretly, I think the Seahawks are a good team, a playoff caliber team. Sam Darnold has looked good. They blew out the Saints like a good team should, and they're going to take that show on the road. JSN looked phenomenal. Kenneth Walker looked phenomenal. The defense for the Seattle Seahawks is once again good. Maybe not Legion of Boom good, but they are elite. Among the elite defenses in the NFL. You think about the other elite defenses in the NFL, you don't really mention the Seahawks, but they are. And Mike McDonald is a wizard when it comes to that kind of thing. They've figured out the offense. Darnold's pushing the ball deep. I love this. I think Sam Darnold at this point in his career is the better quarterback than Kyler Murray. Again, riding with better quarterbacks and better coaches as we make this pick. Want to move to a quarterback who did not look great on Sunday, and that is Jake Browning of the Cincinnati Bengals. He played at Minnesota. The offense only put up 3 measly points, decimated 48-3 by the Vikings. The Vikings defense is good, but Jake Browning was all over the place. Tough spot for him. And it's not getting any easier because he's playing a considerably better defense this weekend in the Denver Broncos. I don't like this spot for him on Monday night in prime time against the Broncos, who desperately need a win after choking the game away on the Chargers. So we're going to bet under passing yards for Jake Browning, under passing touchdowns for Jake Browning, and Jake Browning to throw an interception. We're going to go ahead and triple up against Jake Browning. This is one of my favorite things to do. It's just bet against bad quarterbacks. I don't know why I haven't thought of this. I hope this can get us right in the NFL. But, knowing the way that things have gone this season so far for us in the NFL, Jake Browning's about to go 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. So we will see. I love betting against bad quarterbacks. So give me Jake Browning under everything. All right. Our next pick, we're going to move to the Jaguars 49ers. We were on the 49ers and Mac Jones last week. This week, we're going to go against Mac Jones at home. It's a 3.5 point spread. The Jags are 2-1. I think they're a good 2-1 after they beat the Texans, who I think is a decent team. And it seems like Liam Cohen is kind of reversing the mojo there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence has played well. I think they got to get Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter right in the passing game. I think this is a week to do it because the Niners just lost Nick Bosa, so their pass rush just took a huge hit. He's out for the year. Niners are decimated with injuries. I don't think Brock Purdy comes back for this one. I think they're going to hold them out another week thinking that they can win this with Mac Jones. And maybe they can, but I think they're going to squeak by if they do. / the Jaguars might win outright. So Jaguars plus 3.5. And then our last pick, I hope I don't injure another wide receiver for the season or for multiple weeks. Drake London, anytime touchdown. He's getting the volume that he needs to score a touchdown. They should be in a position where they have to pass a lot this week against the Commanders. I'm not sure if Jaden Daniels will play. It may not matter. The Commanders still put up plenty of points of Mariota at quarterback this weekend, and they can put up points on this Falcons team who allowed 30 to the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young. The Falcons couldn't find the end zone themselves. Michael Penix got benched. Kirk Cousins came in. So that's a situation to monitor. I like this bet a lot more if Kirk Cousins plays rather than Michael Penix because for whatever reason, Penix refuses to throw the ball to Drake London like he should. Drake London is the best wide receiver on this team by far. the best skill player is Bijan Robinson, but Drake London is one of the better wide receivers in the NFL, and the Falcons have comically misused him so far, or underutilized him so far. But again, Drake London, I'm sorry, buddy. I got to do it to you. Anytime touchdown for plus odds this weekend. All right. That's going to do it for me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the NFL bets. Just recap them one more time for you. We're going Seahawks minus 1.5 on Thursday Night Football. We're going everything under, plus Jake Browning to throw an interception. So he's going to go crazy this weekend. We're going Jaguars plus 3.5. Drake London, anytime touchdown. Hopefully, we can get a winning weekend in the NFL. We've gone 500 or a losing weekend like we had in week 3. Hopefully, week 4, it's going to treat us a little better. We're going to move closer to the positive. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll be back next week, Tuesday at 6 p.m. with some more picks.